Well, welcome everybody to Forever Bristol City podcast. It's the morning after the afternoon before, and don't often see games like that at Ashton Gate because it was a 7-goal thriller with City emerging victorious. It was written in the stars that Scott Twine would score the winning goal. Final score, as we say, City 4, Millwall 3. I'm joined by Tom, Sutton, Ian and Mark. And we're going to go through the game as we do and give our thoughts on the various points coming out, and then look forward to Coventry and just what the lineup might be for that particular game. But without any further ado, and it's going to be difficult, I want each of you to give me your 30-second thoughts as you walked away from Ashton Gate on the final whistle. What were your thoughts, chaps? You first, Mark.
Right, what a crazy game of football for Bristol City and their fans, played in 3 acts. Birth, death and resurrection, peppered with brilliant attacking play, awful defending and some of the most appalling refereeing decisions you're ever likely to see. It wasn't great, one great for the faint-hearted, but it was brilliant, it was awful, and it was brilliant again, and I'm glad that I was there to see it.
Brilliant. Tom, your thoughts?
Chaotic, lack of control from both teams, the large parts of the second half, the ebbs and flows, and just I think that highlighted yesterday the power of momentum in the Championship.
Okay. Ian, that's very good. Tom, less than 30 seconds. Well done. Ian, your thoughts?
Well, I've seen lots of games of 2 hours, but that was actually a game of 4 quarters. I agree totally with Tom on his lack of control. And where do you start? Well, it's a game that I've heard described as brilliant, crazy, stressful, and great for the neutrals. And it was all of those things. And in fairness to Millwall, they came on the front foot and tried to play. It wasn't men behind the ball until the last quarter, when I think that could have been a mistake they made when they went a bit deep and tried to defend when we had players like Twine, Bird, and Earthy on the field. And they showed exactly how we play through that if sides do that now. So hats off to them for the way they tried to play. But we came through and that showed fantastic character. But we still need to address it before we play Coventry, because we might not get away with being on the right end of a 7-goal thriller every week. And that's what Liam Manning alluded to after the game.
Okay, no, that's good. I tweeted earlier today that if Heineken did football matches, they do City versus Millwall, because it had joy, agony, followed by ecstasy, all in the space of, I think, 95 minutes of action. Mark, the starting lineup, no place in the starting lineup for Earthy or Twine. Were you surprised when you saw that team with neither of those players starting?
I think my heart said I wanted both. I wanted both players to start, at least Scott Twine, but I could see why he kept the same team, because neither played in the previous 2 fixtures. Neither knew the runs or some of the tactics, or played a league or cup game. So it was just a question of having the same players who built up match sharpness. So and then we could throw those 2 players in when we needed them, and boy did we need them.
Okay, Tom. The defence picks itself these days if we're sticking to a back 4. Were you in agreement with Mark that it was the right thing to leave the 2 new boys out?
Well, it's clear that Manning did all his tactical work with Twine not in the building. So I think to get it done on the Friday and to see him on the bench, that was the most we could hope for. Same situation with Conway at Borough. He was on the bench there.
He got 12 minutes, Tom.
Yeah, well. But no surprise to me on Twine. I was surprised in some ways Earth didn't start, but it worked out okay. He likes Bird in the 10, and I know we'll get on to him, but that was one of the best individual performances I've seen in a long time for a Bristol City player yesterday, from a guy that has admitted that 10's not his natural position. He's still learning it. Yeah. So, like you say, back 4 completely picks itself. Wasn't their best day yesterday, but yeah, pretty standard shape of team yesterday, I'd say, from Manning.
Yeah. Ian, there's an argument that, yes, Scott Twine wasn't involved in any of the prep for the game, but he knows the players, he knows how we play. You know, I'm sure he could have slotted in, but are you in agreement with Mark and Tom that probably the right thing to put them both on the bench for that, at the start of the game?
Yeah, and I think Mark will confirm. I said that before the start of the game. I didn't think he changed the team from Hull because we played quite well. I know we only got a draw, but that was as a result of a daft mistake by a player. Yesterday, their second goal was a daft mistake by the referee, and he's admitted it and he's apologised, which is a good thing we won because that it didn't change the outcome of the point. But no, I think I wasn't surprised. I was delighted with the debuts of both players. George Earthy came on and replaced Sykes, and he did more in the time he was on the field than Sykes had done in the preceding 80 odd minutes. I was really disappointed with him yesterday. And apart from the goal, I was really disappointed with Mehmeti. I'll echo what Tom said on Bird, but I think we need him further back to give us the control. And if we play with a 6, Williams, and 2 8s, Knight and Bird, one of the 8s can always be more attacking than the other one. But I think that will give us more control. That we lost complete control in the first 20 minutes of that second half. And as much as I'd like to, but Bird could stay up front. Or up front, he could play as a second 10 if we play 2 10s. We've now got that option, and we've also got the option of playing George Earthy and Scott Twine. But I would say Twine definite starter against Coventry, no doubt about it. We were a different team when he came on, and Fally is class, and we're touch wood fortunate to have those 2 lads that we picked up for much less than we got for Tommy. So I'm delighted.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, I think with Earthy, well, we said just before we went live, Ian, that if you started the team that finished the game, which is Earthy and Twine both on, I mean that's a pretty strong team there. Mark, a very strong team, in fact. 2 players that have worn the shirt of Bristol City lined up for Millwall. I'm sure everybody knows Joe Bryan, and then the other one I think is George Saville, who we had on loan many seasons ago. But were you surprised that Joe was getting a little bit of booing? I mean, it was uncharacteristic Joe because he looked like he'd had a Malin Street being painted in his ceiling because he had, you wouldn't expect Joe as a guy to have that blonde highlights in his hair. Maybe the London life has got to him after all these years, but a bit harsh on Joe getting booed.
Yeah, I don't think that's really fair, but that's fickle football fans for you. And it did look like a pigeon had taken a dump in Joe's hair from a great height. It's if you want to take a target on your back, ladies and gentlemen, go and do that. And I concur with what Ian said previously, but somebody said I was so happy I could kiss Ian. Scattered dreams. Male or female? Would you like to reveal yourself, or sorry, maybe that's not the word.
Dreams.
Maybe that's not the word.
All right. Okay.
Sorry, Tom's trying not to laugh.
The referee will get his comeuppance when we talk about the penalty.
That's very diplomatic.
It was.
The referee will get his comeuppance, sir. Like the man, you're getting a glove down. I throw down my glove. We'll have a duel.
Yeah. Right. Let's get into the goals. Coming to you for the first one, Tom. I'll give each of you a shout on the goals. I took with me a friend. It was his first visit to an English football ground. He's a Portuguese guy. Watches Benfica. As that's his team, so it's a little bit different to us. But Tom, the first goal, he said, "Wow, they're this good." And Armstrong, Sinclair Armstrong, I keep calling him Spencer. God knows why. God, he's a beast. You wouldn't want to be facing him. Take us through that first goal, Tom, as you saw it.
Well, Bird picks it up on the right and shows a good bit of composure to not rush the pass. He does this ball roll, and I think the thing you get with Sinclair Armstrong is the ability to play in behind effectively that we didn't have last year. And you could just see that after that first run by Armstrong, the centre backs were absolutely terrified of him, and he was getting dragged around from there on. They were sticking it on him. I mean, he must have got hit in the head about 3 or 4 times after that. But great ball by Bird down the line, and Armstrong just used his pace and power to shrug off. I think it's Cooper coming across, and skips past him, and it's a good ball, but it's pretty poor from Leonard to not get a solid connection on it. But Anis picks it up just outside the 6-yard box, and actually it's really good composure from him, which I wouldn't always associate with Anis. To take a touch to settle and then to put it back across goal, and it was a really good finish. And you're there after 4 minutes, and it's like, wow, this is very un-Bristol City Millwall-esque. It's usually a really tight 1-1 draw, and we've just broken them down within 2 passes and bypassed sort of all their low blocks. So, yeah, fantastic start for us.
Yeah. Ian, the first goal from your perspective, I mean, Armstrong, you said you bumped into him up at the HPC a few weeks ago and you bounced off him straight away because he's a unit, but he's got pace. I mean, you compare him to Fally, and that's the last time we've had sort of like a big bloke, but he's vastly superior to Fally, in my opinion, I think. He set up that goal.
Well, it depends if you're talking about physicality or pace or as a footballer. And I think Fally is a better footballer. He's got better control. He's got 2 good feet. But Armstrong is a unit, and he's one of those guys that when you meet him, he looks as big across as he does high. He like walks through a door and it goes dark. One of them characters, and he can run as well. He can really shift. And apparently, and I haven't seen any data to back this up, he's one of the fastest players in the league, not just Ashton Gate, full stop. And he went past Cooper. Now, Cooper he's like a walking wardrobe, isn't he? He's a unit, always causes us problems.
Yeah, good defender.
Always causes us problems from set pieces, but he ain't quick.
Yeah.
And he went past him like he wasn't there. And you can see Cooper straight away thinking, exactly the same as the Hull defenders last week. Oh dear God, because they've probably been told to play a high line. Well, you can't play high line with him because he is bloody quick and he'll go past you and he'll keep going. What really impressed me about him yesterday was that headed finish wasn't easy from Bird's cross. A brilliant cross for the second goal, but what impressed me with the first one is he didn't overhit it. Okay, he got it across, he got it in low. And if you do that, defenders are struggling, they're facing their goal, and they can make a mistake. And the guy's made a mistake. Okay, it's fallen to Mehmeti, who's done what he should have done last week and got in the box, if not got across that defender. And he's trapped it, and it's quite a nice finish.
Yeah.
As opposed to one later on that he did brilliantly to get in position and then blutered it up the back of the Atio. So, that's it. But if he was the type of guy that had just gone in and curled that, he probably wouldn't be here very long. But no, I was delighted with Armstrong and having the 2 of them, which is why I'd like to see the 2 play together. But as I said last week, I think Liam Manning's got some doubts as to whether they can both do 90 minutes. And that's why he keeps one up.
Armstrong, so Dave Trotter's put on the text feed, why was Armstrong taken off, not a 90-minute player? I think when you've got, it sort of picks up with what Ian said, is he a 90-minute player? But then when you've got a player like Fally Maulu on the bench, and, we're obviously going to talk about him later, you are blessed with, you can say, give it your all for 65 minutes and then bring somebody on for 25 minutes. And they can make an impact on the game. And I think to make an impact on the game, you've got to be on for 20 or more minutes, because the last 15 maybe less so. It's getting into the pace of the game. Mark, I'll come to you first for the second goal.
Just a very quick point. It was actually Sam Hutchinson that was in the middle, not Jake Cooper. Cooper missed a header further up the pitch, so he was right out of play. When Bird burst forward and played the ball down the line to Armstrong, so he was right out of the picture. He only comes back into the picture when the goal goes in. So it's Hutchinson who's beaten by Armstrong.
Yeah. Okay, so Mark, for the second goal, 12 minutes on the clock. We talked about Bird. He's almost got languid sort of style about him, and he's not. He reminds me a bit. Do you remember that player Pearson that we had, the Derby County bloke, a few years ago?
Stephen Pearson.
Stephen Pearson. I couldn't remember his name. Quite a biggish bloke and not a great deal of pace, but he can pick a pass, which is what he was brought here for. And what a pass that was for the goal that Armstrong's goal, the second goal. Take us through that as you saw it.
Well, he's got the ball high at the pitch, and he takes a step back. So he's hitting the ball with his left foot from the right hand channel back into the player. And Armstrong runs between the two central defenders. I don't know who they are. It could be Hutchinson and Cooper, but he makes that run and heads the ball back across the keeper. A textbook header by Armstrong. And it's in the back of the net. Absolutely fantastic. But I think he looks really graceful, Max Bird. I didn't realise how thin and rangy he was. But he's got a great left foot. Knows where to pass the ball. He'll take a chance. Passing, sometimes he'll miss. Sometimes he might drift out of play a little. But his movement between the lines is superb, and is exactly what we've been missing. But yeah, beautiful cross. But it's Armstrong's run. I mean, he was unplayable in the first half an hour of the game yesterday. Exactly what we need. Once he's in behind the defender with that power, you can see exactly what's City having a big physical number 9, and then you've got a technical quality player to come off the bench. But he's not somebody who's going to get knocked off the ball easily. I hope you pick up on the first of Gill's mistakes when he didn't give a free kick for a blatant push by Cooper.
Well,
he's not somebody who's going to fall down easily. So why you didn't think that was a booking and a free kick, I really don't know.
No, I don't know. We got enough to talk about with the goals and talking about team selections. I haven't written any of the other incidents, but you're right.
Yeah,
Mark.
I mean, it was just awful.
He was flattened a couple of times. Tom, we I haven't seen a headed goal from an attacking player at Ashton Gate like that since the days of Fally, because Fally had that ability, and we all know Armstrong's got pace, but that was a perfectly directed header, and you play as a defender to a decent standard. Were the defenders found wanting, or was it he made a leap, and the way he angled it down as well was really good?
I mean, you can't ask Bird to put that in a better area. For someone to attack in that area between the 6-yard box to sort of the goalkeeper, because at that point, whose ball is it defensively? You're leaving it for the goalkeeper, and you're almost expecting and wanting him to come. And the goalkeeper's turning around to his centre backs and saying, "Well, you've got to deal with it." I mean, to not follow Armstrong in is quite poor. I think there was probably a lack of communication from. I think it was Leonard at fullbacks. I think they turned around and sort of went, "Were you not coming in at the back post?" Much like Pring nearly got caught doing for Leonard on our goal in the first half, where he almost lets it run, and it's put in that area at the back post where. Whose ball is it to claim? But fantastic from Armstrong. I mean, that's a great run from someone that, admittedly, I don't think is a fantastic technical footballer, but he's got it up top. Like, he knows the runs he needs to do. Whether it always comes off technically when he gets the ball into feet, he can work on that. He's only 21. Yeah. But fantastic ball from Bird, and that's just wanting to be attacked. So it's a really good header, really composed header, because how many have we seen come scuffing off the head and going out for a goal kick? To get good contact on the ball was the most important thing there, and brilliant to go 2-0 up in 12 minutes.
And Ian said he's not the player he's not the player that Famara Diédhiou was, but Fam was a good 5 or 6 years older when he joined us than what Armstrong is now, and obviously Diédhiou was good with his defensive headers for a number of years away. He could come back and head the ball out. So it's 2-0 at half. It's 2-0 at half time, Ian. But Millwall were getting back into it. We seemed as though we sat back, and we were all nervous going in at half time. I mean, I haven't talked about chances that Millwall have had in that. I'll say the last 20 minutes of the first half. But did you feel nervous at half time, Ian?
I did. They hit the inside of the post. I think it was a guy called Ryan Lowe.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Hit the inside of the post, ball rolled back across the line, and Max fell on it. But the guy came in from a wide position, and it was a decent cross, and he came in unmarked at the far post. And I don't think we were ever in complete control of the game. Millwall came to attack. They played all right. Yes, they had the long throw, and they threw Cooper and the other fella up. And that's difficult to deal with. Really good sides struggle against that tactic if it's properly delivered. But I thought we dealt with it pretty well, to be honest. Some of our defensive headers weren't great, but at least we got the first ball.
Yeah.
But I didn't think we were in control of the game. And I said to somebody at half time, Liam needs to change this, because I didn't. Don't get me wrong. I didn't think what would happen at the start of the second. What happened at the start of the second half would happen, but I didn't think we were in control of the game. Even though people were saying to me, "Well, hang on, we're 2-0 up. What's the matter with you?" I just don't feel comfortable with it.
We were, Ian, you're absolutely right. We did seem to surrender that control.
Yeah, and we didn't look comfortable. So, I mean, my solution would have been to drop Bird back into a 3 and a half. Now, and that's the way I think we could do it moving forward. But anyway, we didn't.
Okay, let's get into.
Let's cover Max Bird. Max Bird can play anywhere in central midfield. He can play 10, he can play 8, he can play 6. But it's a question of where do we need him the most? And I think we need him the most there to give us that more solid base, because last season our defence was the fourth best in the division, and it was the best thing about our team. If you think, right, well, we got the defence right, that's fine. Midfield, yeah, not always. And up front, we were, let's be honest, powder puff. So now, yesterday, for the first time I can remember in a long time, the front was high on for the first quarter and the last quarter, but the midfield and the defence were, for that, especially for that 20, poor. And I haven't seen that under for a long time. Not for all of them, all 6 of them. If you call it the back 6 or back 7 with the keeper, were off. And okay, that could be credit to Millwall. Perhaps they just outplayed us for that period.
They were gonna. When you tune it up, you're bound to ease off. I think there's a tendency there. Into the second half, then, Mark. It was only 5 minutes old, and Essays on the ball, and it was Viner and Pring. So, well, after you, you look like you're controlling the ball well. We were wanting for that goal, but it was a good close bit of dribbling by Essay, wasn't it, Mark?
Yeah, there just wasn't any pressure on the ball. I mean, the ball's played. I think it starts with a throw and with a free kick on the left. I think after Sykes had a bit of afters with Joe Bryan for no reason and gets himself stupidly booked.
Yes.
So the ball's just played from left to right, and then it's played infield to Romain Esse, who looked their best player, 19 years old. I think he's come up through the academy. I think he played against us a year or 2 ago as well. So, he's been in their faults, but he looks a really good prospect. And he takes the ball on his left foot and feints to go outside and Cam Pring. And then Pring does get a tiny bit on the ball, but his momentum still carrying him through to Zach Viner, who didn't do anything. So he just hits the ball flat to Max's right, and he just caught flat-footed. He can't do anything about it. It's right past him, and it's 2-1. But there's just no pressure on the ball from Sissy. That's what's really cool.
Those of you watching, I'm raising my hands in the air. The camera angle behind the goal. I mean, Pring sort of putting his hands up because he's nervous about touching him because he thinks he's going to go over, isn't he?
Well, he's on the edge. He's on the edge of the area, but I mean, it's a good bit of football by Millwall, and they played some really good football. It wasn't, it's not just all about. It's all about getting the ball forward quickly down the channels, but they played a lovely flat ball into SA in the middle of the park. And so it's all about his technical ability. He feints to go one way. Pring just needs to stand up but he makes it easy for him. And Viner, just a really pathetic
Well, his
attempt.
body position was all
His
wrong.
body position's all over the place. He doesn't really commit, and then he just hits the ball hard, gets his knee over the ball, hits it, just stabs it right into the corner, and it's 2-1.
Scattered Dream said Pring had a bit of a nightmare at times yesterday. Tom, would you agree with that? Well, talk about the goal. Defensively found wanting. And how did you rate Cam's performance yesterday, since you're talking about that particular player?
For Cam standard, quite disappointing. I think he can be a real leader on the pitch, maybe not vocally, but performance-wise and effort-wise and physicality, I think he can inspire at times. I didn't think he did yesterday. I think SA found him out, and SA really grew into the game for me. At the back end of the first half and the start of the second, before he absolutely run himself into the ground at about 60. For a 19-year-old to cramp up twice, he must have done some proper hard yards. But he was fantastic. And how difficult is that for a 19-year-old to grab the game like that, 2-0 behind, away from home, and just make something out of nothing? Yeah. And he was so impressive for me. And his ability to take people on one-on-one. I mean, it's so poor defensively, though. I'm more looking at Zach Viner for that goal, honestly, than Cam Pring, because Cam Pring shows him inside. Okay, you want to go outside there, but you get something on the ball and you're hoping to get backed up, and Viner leaves his legs to open. And a good player, what they do is they recognise the stride's too long and put it through your legs. They do it all the time in the Premier League. Aguero was an absolute master of it, where the centre-back would open their legs so much and just shoot through because it blindsides the goalkeeper. And SA does that, keeps it low, and it's a fantastic goal. And, you know, if we had SA and Mehmeti on those sides, both sides, I know he had a poor game yesterday, but the one-on-one ability to go at a fullback would definitely be there that we don't have in Mark Sykes. But yeah, it was really impressive. Cam Pring yesterday wasn't great, but collectively the back four was really quite poor for me.
Yeah, you say we don't have we don't. It'd be great to have SA and Mehmeti, but we got Yu Hirakawa to come. You know, so what is that? That's just it's like getting an extra present for Christmas after the January sale, sort of thing, with Hirakawa being fit. Ian, yeah, I'm coming to you next. Ian, Keynes has said on it, it's okay having good attacking midfielders. We were missing a Matty James type midfielder yesterday. Do you agree with that view? And also, I mean, he's like the Duracell bunny knight, isn't he? He goes on and on and on, and he's a great captain. Or is he, in the sense that he's not massively vocal? So that comment about needing a Matty James type, I thought we got that in Bird, or he can be that. But just comment on that particular point.
Bird's a better, for me, Bird's a better player than Matty James, who I quite like. But Joe Williams should be doing that role, and if he can't do it, then we may need to replace him, because Joe's not going to get past the ball and score lots of goals. The problem with Jason Knight, as I see it, high energy, a decent short range passer, keeps going for 90 minutes, no problem with that, but he doesn't get past the ball enough. So if his best position's 8, and I think most people think it is, he's definitely not a 10. And unlike Max Bird, he can't play 10. I don't think he can. I think he's an 8. But he needs to get past the ball more. And that is one of his failings. He doesn't score enough goals. And he's a player who can score goals. He's a good player. But Joe is the one that would need to hold. Now, if Joe can't hold, and he's not the same player as Matty James, but I've seen him do it, then and you know, you'd look at the team Millwall and think, well, it's going to be a bit of a battle. We need people in there who'll put a foot in, and Joe does that, no doubt. And you know, we've seen him play. At the end of last season, he's playing really well. I don't think he's playing as well. So give him last season, let's say 8. At the moment, he's about 6.5. I think.
Okay, based on
and
what we think, yeah.
Over the first 2 or 3 games, I think he's just a little bit, and he seems to take a while to get going in a game. Seems to need to give the ball away a few times, make a few mistakes, then all of a sudden he's back in it. So that's something you could look at, and perhaps you could alternate him in one of the other midfielders. Possibly get Taylor Gardner-Hickman more involved, because he can run more.
dreadful second half performance against Coventry, and I praised Taylor Gardner-Hickman, for his first half performance against Cov. I thought he was okay, and I think somebody's said on here, Keynesy, he said someone who sits just in front of the back four like Matty did. I think that's the only place that Cal Naismith is going to get in the team, in my view.
And there's no reason why you couldn't do that with Cal, and he's left-sided, which once again gives you that balance.
Yeah,
and
Terry Cole on the text feed said exactly the same thing. Let's move on because we've still got some goals to discuss. Come to you next, Mark. It's 2-2 on 54 minutes, and we're all thinking, "Oh my!" Well, I'd looked away, and it's a cross come in. Tanner and Watmore are sort of not even a challenge. What was the referee thinking there? Sonny Gill, who later
the move up to the goal was great movement from Millwall. A 1-2 between George Honeyman, the ex Sunderland player, and SA. SA passes it to Honeyman, hairs up the pitch, gets behind Cam Pring easily, hits the ball first time from near the corner flag back towards the penalty spot, just behind on the left hand side. So I think he takes out Viner. So Duncan Watmore's coming in behind Tanner. Tanner's got his body turned. He's looking at Watmore coming over his shoulder. Watmore heads the ball down. Now it was done in a flash, and I wonder. Somebody said penalty, and I wonder if Tanner's got his arms up. So I only saw this after the game. Gill is coming. He's coming into the picture. So I think he's about 10 yards away. He's central, looking. I don't think he can see it. The assistant referees on the Dolman side, I don't think he can see it either, because Tanner would have his back to him. Watmore's headed the ball down. Now on the replay, he's headed it into Tanner's chest. Gill can't see it. What he says to the assistant, I don't know. He must just guess. The Millwall players claim a penalty, and he gives it after about 10 seconds. But it must be pure guesswork. If he's not absolutely sure, how can he give a penalty? And the stupid thing is, Tanner's arms are down by his side. Even if he thought it hit his arm, the ball's not even a yard away. How can that be deliberate handball? But the ball's actually hit Tanner on the chest as he's turned between his arms. The ball's headed down by Watmore. The referee can't see it. The assistant can't see it. What is going on?
So how can you give us a decision that you don't see? Tom, come to you on it. I mean, you were over on the Dolman side, so you're sort of blindsided a bit. But did he give it on the appeal? I mean, he later admitted to a City fan in the car park, as somebody posted on the X last night. He was embarrassed that he got it wrong and was relieved that when we got the winner. But how can it's a classic case for VAR. That's not given with VAR, Tom, is it?
No, and apparently this guy said to the fan that that's what you get in the Premier to be overturned, but that's just a lack of responsibility for me. If you rely on VAR to make such an obvious decision, then I'm sort of questioning you as a ref there, because it's nowhere near a penalty. We've had dodgy penalties given against us where it's been contentious, and you go, or if it was against us, but it's nowhere near Tanner's arm. Tanner's arm's down. It hit his chest, and you're like,
he hit his chest.
It's hit his chest here. It's not out here where if maybe Tanner's gone towards it and it's a bit up in the air. Tanner stands still, remains there, and it hits him. And not only does it hit him, he's that far away from him. So I don't know what Sonny Gill wanted in truth, and he completely goes with the shout. I think if that's my view, if that happens on the other side of the pitch, and Tanner does that, it's not a penalty. I think the Millwall fans going, Honeyman, if you look at him, runs around and gets straight in the ref's face. The ball's gone out for a corner.
I'll need to look at that again. Ian, the penalty. I mean, that Bradshaw, I think he used to play for Walsall back in the day, and he's not a bad little player, is he? He tucked it away. He's busy, isn't he? He's almost like a forward version of what Knight is in the middle, and it's 2-2, and everybody's groaning.
Yeah, I mean, it fortunately, well, it was a bit of a turning point in the game, but it didn't end in the wrong conclusion, but he said I went with my gut. Well, you don't go with your gut. You go with what you see. If you don't see it, you can't give it. That's the first rule of refereeing. Don't see it, don't give it.
Yeah.
Now, everybody can be shouting and bawling. If you don't think it's a penalty, don't give it. Now, it's different if he said, "Oh well, I saw it in his hand," because clearly, as Sky have analysed, it didn't. It hit him flush in the chest. Um, so, look, people say it levels out over a season. I don't actually think it does. And what we all said last week, what Williams did was stupid, and it was a stonewall penalty. So, and the ref was right to give it, even though the ref happened to be Keith Stroud. But no, he's had a mare there. He's made a mistake. I think overall his refereeing left a bit to be desired, but we finished up with the right result in the end. And I think Neil Harris. I mean, I said before the game it was one of the strongest benches I can remember us having in a long time. And I said the same thing at Hull, to be fair. But Neil Harris made that said that was a differential factor. If you look, he said, if you look at what they had on the bench and what we had, so he's obviously having a pop at his board about bringing in players. And he also said after the game when they said, "Oh, have you got other players coming in because you played 2 games, you scored 5 goals, and you've lost them both?" He said, "I don't know, mate. I haven't got a clue." He said, "A little bit like Nigel Pearson's famous, well, you better ask that lot because they won't tell me, and I don't know."
Neil Harris is in his second spell in charge of Millwall, isn't he?
Either his second or third, Dave.
Second or third.
Yeah.
So he keeps, everything like when in doubt, revert to Neil Harris and back he goes.
If you're a Millwall fan, you've been 2-0 down in 2 games, got back to level and lost both. In fact, ahead. Yeah, I mean, utterly ridiculous. Frustrating, which is why they find themselves at the bottom of the league with Cardiff.
if you think that, if you think about it, if you looked at the teams yesterday, and you look at their first game against Watford, where they lost 3-2, very similar. When in that fact they were 2-0 up in that game. Yeah. It's not difficult to see at which end of the field the problem is, and you've looked at those games, the two teams yesterday, and said, well, they're both really good going forward, in patches, but neither of them can defend.
Yeah,
and that's why I say I cannot quite work out why it went so collectively wrong, and all the individual performances just completely went in our back. I don't really blame Max for any of the goals, but our back 6, if you want to call it that, collectively it just stopped functioning. It was weird.
Okay, we've still got more goals to go. We've got another 3 to go through. Mark, we made our subs on the hour, just over the hour. Probably would have happened anyway when Fally came on and Twine. Off went Armstrong and Mehmeti. So something different. Sykes kept on the pitch. But within 2 minutes of the subs being made, Mark, we're 3-2 down. And everybody's thinking about Stoke City at home last season. 2-0 up in that one. And we lost 3-2 there. I mean, the cross, a long throw, good long throw. Knight's header, what more? I mean, you can't stop a strike like that, but the long throw was the killer there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's Hutchinson, and he throws it from the Dolman stand. Fantastic, powerful arms, and I think Miulu's in the box with Jake Cooper. They're under the ball, so the ball beats them, and it goes into the middle, and Jason Knight heads the ball backwards. Tanner is covering Duncan Watmore on the 6-yard line or just behind, and he hits it first time, right foot volley from left to right, and it is a sweet finish from Watmore, goal of the game in terms of the quality. But yeah, it's a great throw. It's back to simple set pieces from Millwall. Hutchinson's throw. Players get caught under the ball. They're all attracted to Jake Cooper. Fally isn't able to get his head on the ball because it beats him. And Knight, it just brushes atop the Knight's head and goes backwards. But Watmore's there on his toes. Perhaps Tanner could be better covering Watmore a little bit better. So bit more pressure on the ball to stop that. But Watmore's finish is terrific. It's a great goal.
Yeah.
O'Leary's got no chance. So, just watch that again. Watch the finish. Bad defending, but a great strike.
Okay. It's interesting you say bad defending. Tom, should George Tanner have been tighter on the man? Why is one of our shortest players getting the defensive header in pretty much on the penalty spot? Was that indicative of maybe Tanner and Viner and Dickey not having their best games? Because that header from Knight sort of could have gone anywhere, couldn't it, really?
I actually think Knight is probably top 3 best aerial duel winners that we have. I think Knight aerially is fantastic. So I didn't mind that. And in that position, Knight's just hoping to get anything on it. As long as you get the first contact, you can't do all that much about the second. And you got to say, it's just a really good finish. It is just a really good finish. The way it falls to him and the side foot, it reminded me a bit of Finn Azaz's goal last year for Plymouth, which was further back. But the way he side footed, that's his 3rd goal in 2 games now, Duncan Watmore. And that's just a man that has confidence in his ability at the minute. That finishes. We've seen Andy Vyman when he had his 26 goal season finishes like that. I think back to Cardiff where he took that first time on the volley. And when you're riding high on form, you do feel that you can take anything on. Bit harsh on Tanner. I think it's just one of those that you concede, and that they almost sucked the ball into the goal mill there. They'd scored 2 goals in effectively 5 minutes, and then you're like almost waiting for the 3rd to go in. And it felt like it was only going to be a matter of time. The thing that was most impressive was our ability to bounce back after that, because like you say with Stoke last season, that could have easily finished 3-2, and we're all walking away going, oh, right, same old.
Yeah. And then it's a dreadful start to the season, because you'd end up with 1 point from 2 league games and out of the Carabao Cup. Yeah. And I think we went we went 3-2 down. We went from 5th. Well, we were at 3:15, 5th in the table by about 10 to 5, quarter to 5 before the last 10 minutes, we dropped down to about 14th or 15th, which is why it doesn't make any difference what league tables look like at this very early stage of the season. Ian, we showed resilience in a way that we haven't. I think it was Gary Hours said on Radio Bristol that Millwall were done because they'd taken the game to City after we'd gone 2-0 up. They got themselves into the lead. We brought our 2 subs on, but they collapsed. I think Gary said they were fatigued, and somebody said on here, Watmore's, I think you said, Mark, Watmore's was the best goal of the game. Ian, our 3rd goal, I thought that was the best of the game, coming with 12 minutes to go. How did you see it? It was a 4-man move from just inside our half, wasn't it?
Yeah, ball got played up to Fally. Fally, lovely touch off to Bird, playing him in behind. Bird on his, what should be his swinger, puts a fantastic ball back to him. It was like a long range 1-2. And Fally swept it right in the corner, and the keeper couldn't do a thing about it. And there's the thing I noticed about Earthy, Fally, Scott Twine, Max Bird. Their movement is at a different level from a lot of our players. It really is. They do it instinctively. We'll come on to the 4th goal, but who else in our team would have been from midfield would have been in the position that Scott Twine was in? Possibly Max Bird.
Talk about the 4th goal in a minute. Talk about the 4th goal in a minute.
But I thought it was the best goal of the game, because it was the football leading up to it. They never laid a glove on us, and as I've said in a write-up, and as I've said today, it showed great character, because there's no way that we're coming back to win that game last season. No way.
No. And Tom, sorry, you're next, Mark. You're waving your hand down there. Tanner Mayulu, Bird Mayulu. He's so much different to Armstrong, but he's a cultured player, isn't he? For a big man, he's quick with his feet. He's a very different but absolutely superb alternative to Armstrong. I don't think we will ever see both of them in the same team at the same time. But that goal was everything, wasn't it?
Yeah, if you want to see the transformation of City in terms of their build-up play under Manning, that was the goal.
Yeah.
Dickie's got it in the he's in the centre of our own half. He plays it to Zach Viner. Zach Viner. Then you got George. Then you got George Tanner advancing. He's just over the halfway line on the Lansdowne side. On the line, he hits a great ball towards the D, towards Max Bird, who dummies it. Bird dummies the ball, and then Mayulu plays a 1-2. He hits the ball sideways and advancing. Max Bird's advancing into the area and just plays it back to him. And he just caresses the ball across the defender into the corner. Now, that's a great technical ability. You saw his technical ability against Hull in the way that he executed that goal over his shoulder, flick, turn, buried the ball, half volley. There, he's across the defender and he directs the ball into the corner. It's just a great finish, but the whole move from back to front, that is a Bristol City under Liam Manning. The way we executed that, four or five passes, but it's the movement that makes it. But there's three defenders involved in that goal: Dickie, Viner, Tanner. Bird dummies it beautifully, so he takes a player out of the game. It completely wrong foots that defender. But against a team defending deep, the cleverness of the approach play, when you think we lost our heads because we seemed to play the occasion after 2-1. It wasn't a penalty, but we just got completely lost in the occasion. But the transformation at 3-2, you're able to empty the bench, bring on finishers. Remember Eddie Jones, the England head coach, used to say, "I've got starters and I've got finishers." He knew he had quality players he could bring off the bench to get a result. We had that. Millwall didn't. But the execution of that ball, it's just superb. If you want to watch that, I watch it over and over again to see how simple and how great it was.
Tom, somebody said what I was thinking. Darm One said on the text feed, goal of the season for me. Well, it's early in the season. I think it's a goal of the season contender, not for the power of the strike, but just the build-up. I mean, you can't defend against that, can you? Because it was silky. It was silky, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think that shows the quality of Max Bird. Also Fale Mayulu, but Max Bird for me is the real catalyst for that goal. The game intelligence to dummy that, and then not only to go outside him, because it'd be so easy to carry a run inwards, and then you're almost dragging people into Fale there. But he takes him wide, and it's such a good pullback for Fale. It just allows him to hit it first time with his right foot. And in terms of team quality, that is going to probably be goal of the season for me. Not an individual strike, but the actual quality and the precision of the play and the way we broke them down and we drove. I mean, Max Bird for me, he's got these Brownhill-esque qualities to play on the turn that we've only seen in maybe Brownhill and Alex Scott. And I like Max Bird because of how complete he is. Defensively, he's a good player. And he can progress the ball. He can carry the ball in a way that Knight he's a bit iffy sometimes, Knight ball carrying, but Max Bird's got it. And, great touch by Mayulu. Mayulu is a really cultured striker. For me, he's got all the...
Sorry, Tom, it was a similar position to which he scored against Hull, but it was his right foot, wasn't it? As he sort of caressed it in to the net with a different foot, but even though it was on that side of the penalty area where he scored so effectively with his left up at Hull.
Manning said that he can't tell. He's got a weak, about his weak foot. I mean, there's one later where Cooper headers it backwards and he strikes it proper with his left foot. And in terms of two-footedness, the only person I remember that I've seen hit the ball hard with both feet is Semenyo, who can connect it so well with both feet. But for me, Fale Mayulu has got all the finishing qualities of Tommy Conway, but with a better physical profile. So it's a direct upgrade for me in terms of Tommy Conway. And that's after just 2 games. He's got more goals from open play already than Tommy Conway, he's got the same amount of goals from open play at home. And that's 2 and 2 for him now. And the ability to change a game like that is exactly what Manning's been after. In terms of profile, you've got Sinclair Armstrong, your destructive Semenyo type, that will run defenders into the ground, physically tire them, mentally tire them. And then you've got someone with real finesse and quality to bring on who gives you that composure almost.
Yeah.
And, fantastic. I'm a massive fan of Mayulu.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good to hear. I think most of the City fans in the 20,700 plus crowd that was there would agree with you. I think it was 1,500 for Millwall. So not a bad effort. That's about 5,000 pay on the day if we've got 14,000 season ticket holders. Ian, George Earthy, Earthy Wind and Fire. He's not come here to sit on the bench, and we talk more about future team selections. Interesting. I don't know what you were the opposite side of the ground to you. Interesting that sat in the director's box next to Tom Rawcliffe in front of George Earthy on Tuesday night against Coventry was Rob Newman, now between jobs at the moment as well, but like Manning, somebody that knows what George Earthy is like as a player. Rob seems to be a frequent visitor at Ashton Gate these days, so don't know if there's any chance of him having a role. Certainly a City legend. But Earthy came on and he looked great, even though it was only about 8 minutes on in total, and was influential in the goal, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, George, you could tell if you look at. I mentioned something on the text feed in a reply. If you look at Twine and Earthy's first touching movement and Max Bird, it just sets them apart.
Yeah.
Now, he's got the pedigree. He's been at West Ham since there. He was in their under-6 team, and he's been at West Ham. He's played at all the levels for England. He knows Scotty. I suppose you'd say he was a similar sort of stamp to Scotty, but if you look at his effectiveness, he wanted the ball. I really like a player that wants the ball. He wants to take people on. He wants to get in the box. He can cross it. He can pass it. And to me, I'm starting him instead of Mark Sykes. He is. I don't know about the defensive side of the game, but I think he'll work hard at that. But I think he'll help you retain the ball. One of the problems that we had when we had that really bad spell is we couldn't hold on to the damn ball. And we started reverting to type and going long and booting it. And I felt sorry for Sinclair Armstrong in that period because he had no service whatsoever. And there's all kinds of things you've got to do in football, but if you go back to that, I think that the quality those lads showed, you can see straight away why we signed him. And Rob Newman was one of the people that George Earthy spoke to about Bristol City, and Rob Newman said, "Brilliant club, you need to go there; it'll develop you." Unfortunately, as we heard on Thursday, Julian Lopetegui really rates him, whereas David Moyes didn't as much. So our chances of holding on to him are very, very, very limited, especially if he has a good season. Unless, of course, we go up, in which case we can pay a few bob. But no, I really like the look of him. I know he looks like he's about 14 and he's in the in-betweeners, but he does he does genuinely seem like he wants to be here. B, he wants to play, and his first thought is, how can I hurt this team by going forward? Yeah. And I'm all right. It's only a little bit, but that and the video clips and all the rest of it, he is capable of things that unfortunately players like Mark Sykes and Anis Mehmeti aren't consistently.
Well, I mean,
and that's the concern.
It's concerning for them because how are they going to get in the City lineup? Mark, the goal, the winning goal, it was written in the stars and all the rest of it. You know, life is a roller coaster. Ronan Keating. The winning goal.
No, I like to call it first of the summer Twine. Thank you.
Oh, Chris. Oh, right. Earthy clips the ball to Williams. I mean, maybe I was a bit harsh saying when Williams made it, this is the last starting appearance you'll see from Williams for a while. Ian said he's only got 6.5 out of 10 in his performances so far. But that was a delightful cross, and Twine, that was a composed finish, wasn't it? Yeah, he just clipped it past the goal, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he hits it over the top of Jake Cooper. I think Sam Hutchinson's behind Twine, and he's a number 10 making a late run. We don't have attacking midfielders who do that. Now we got two potentially in Max Bird and Scott Twine, and so Earthy's looking, he's looking to play the ball into an attacking area, but he plays the ball back to Joe Williams, who swings it from, he's outside the 18-yard box on the Lansdowne side. He hits a high sort of reaching cross, but it arcs and drops down between those central defenders, and Twine just arrives on the ball to poke it past Jensen, and the crowd just erupts. I mean, the football from when it was 3-3, it just looked inevitable that City were going to get a goal, and it's just something that we don't expect. Millwall are a bogey team. They've beaten us the last couple of seasons. Last time in a New Year's Day shocker. Then I think the previous season there was a Max, made that bad punch, and I think they scored. They won the previous season, but to come back like we did with such positive attacking play against a bogey team with such quality finishes, I mean, we missed this out. But there was a ball by Twine when he came on over the top from Max Bird. He just chipped it over for Bird to run onto. And he hit it first time, and the keeper got down and saved it. Maybe he should have hit it across into the 6-yard box. But it's that sort of play. Some of the quality into the box. We weren't just pumping it in. It was intelligent attacking play, great movement, and what a finish from it just had to be. You couldn't write it better, could you? Scott Twine, the prodigal son, returns, scores the winner. Brilliant.
Yeah. Tommy looked pleased, Twine, when he scored. I've seen the picture. He went racing across there. I mean, we got our man. I don't care what people will say. I think and Ian probably know more than me, but I'm just going to say this. I think we got the Tommy deal done.
Ian knows more than all of us. That's why.
Yeah, I think we got. I think on the Tommy deal, we got a bit more up front than what. We pushed for more up front, and I think Burnley moved a bit. And I do think we moved a bit as well. That's just my view, yeah. But we've got him. It's the missing link in the jigsaw, with Earthy being a bonus, because I think we all thought earlier in the week when Earthy joined, we've moved on from Twine. That's our number 10, right? But then 40 hours later, Twine's in. You can play with Earthy and Twine in the same side, Tom. Wouldn't you think?
It depends what shape he goes. If he goes 3-4-1-2, I don't see a reason why not. And you have Earthy and Twine at the 10. I know that Earthy hasn't played wide right before. I've got a friend who's a West Ham fan, and he's come on at sort of a centre mid, a 10 position. But I think Earthy at this level has got a real ability to take fullbacks on one-on-one. So I think he could do a job at right mid. With Twine,
I say Josh was a one-on-one player, but Josh in that promotion, that 2017-18 season when we pushed forward, he was playing in that wide righty type position.
Yeah. So sort of like an inside winger almost, sort of picking up the spaces between the winger and the fullback, and then bringing it in to towards the centre backs. It's just a pocket of space that I think Earthy has got a real knack for finding. But with Twine, I've never seen, the thing that made me laugh about him was on his Robin's Uncut. I've never seen the actual head coach give a player sort of the tour of the ground or the HBC. It's always Brian Tinian or whoever it is. And as soon as Twine comes in, you just see this look of absolute joy on Manning's face. He's hugging him and hugging the agent, and you could just tell that Manning was like, I would, he's the one, he's the missing link. It's always been Twine. Everyone knows that. And I think to get that really cemented Manning's belief in sort of the project we have here. And he admits in himself.
The cat who's got the cream on his face, really, sort of thing, yeah.
Oh, if you listen to his pre-match interview, it's just like you just see this look of absolute, almost smugness on his face that we finally have. And I agree with you. If you listen to Bristol Live, Oddbur went for a very decent fee to Tottenham, which allowed Burnley to have a little bit more financial. They weren't pushing for such a massive fee then. And I think we did come up ever so slightly, but I think Burnley took a more pragmatic approach after getting probably more than they were anticipating for Oddbur.
Yeah. Use the word there, Tom, the project. I mean, look, we had Ian and I were at Senior Reds on lunch this week with Brian Tinian, who spoke. I hope he doesn't read social media, because some of the comments that he gets on there are pretty nasty. And, Tinian's a City legend as a player. I think he was okay as a manager, what have you. But I think Tinian and the recruitment team deserve a round of applause for what they've done on the recruitment this summer and in January as well. So come on, let's give it a big clap for the recruitment group. There we go. And Brian, you said about Twine, you said about Liam Manning looking smart. Brian can look at what Mayulu's doing. 151 to be 150 to 1 to be the championship top scorer. Somebody's put on here. They got it on the text feed. But Fally, Armstrong, they all look good players. Everything we've seen in the new boys so far, that extends to Stokes, who I think will be one of the players going out on loan. But everybody who's come in, I haven't seen Hirakawa yet, but everybody who's come in, it's, to use the term, a project. All right. So it finished 4-3. I said I think I tweeted last night. Now we've got this squad, Ian. The playoffs 10 days ago, it was hope. But I don't think it's pushing it too far to say playoffs is now an expectation. What do you think, Ian?
I'm not going to move from where I was, Dave, where I said I had two caveats. One, we've got a much stronger squad, but one, we've got to keep them fit. And I am worried. Once again, we've picked up 3 hamstring injuries already. You can't help the injury that you got. It's a contact injury. If somebody decides to boot you on the ankle and get sent off, well, that's just the life of a footballer. I think we should be in the top 10 competing all season and pushing for the playoffs. Now, at the moment, all right, 2 games gone, we're in the playoff zone. If we went on picking up 2 points a game, we're almost certain. Last season, you wouldn't. You had to do better than 2 points a game last season. But based on the average of the last 10 years, if we got 92 points, which is what you'd get, we'd go up. We could even go up as champions. So it's very, very early days. We've got to keep the players fit. We need to fit players at all times for every position. We're a lot closer. After the last week, we brought in Twine and Earthy. We're a lot closer to that than we were. We're a lot closer to what Liam needs to do. But yesterday, it showed it's still a work in progress. And after two games into the season, it's going to be. So I think it's a realistic expectation. But coming back to what you said about the recruitment team, if I said to you now, right, you've got a choice, lads. You can have Fally, Sinclair, and Max Bird, or you can have Tommy back. What would you do?
Well, you'd have those 3, and that's what we got for Tommy, isn't it? Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Well, we actually, I think you could probably throw Stokes and Murphy into that as well. So I think we've done it extremely well. Twine's obviously the most expensive, but I think, and we can't go doing that again. So anybody thinking we're going to go out and spend £5 or £6 million on a player is dreaming. We won't do that. But I've just got a gut feeling, and it's no more than that. I don't know. None of all my sources are saying to me, "That's it. It's done."
Yeah.
But
all right.
I've just got I got a gut feeling we might bring in one more player on loan.
Well, still 10 days.
Yeah, and that's the important thing. And other players could go out, Dave. You don't know.
I want to talk about that as well.
Yeah.
But Mark, it's been a great transfer window. It's been great since the turn of the year, basically. Yeah, and there are a few comments coming up on OTIB this morning, which you may have not seen, but I'll repeat them anyway. Which were, Nigel Pearson did create the platform. Yeah, and if you look at some of the players that have been signed, yeah, and there's I wish he wasn't given the backing that Liam Manning's had. And I know Ian said about sorry, and this isn't going to be a Pearson thing, right? What we've done in this window, Ian was relating the spending of Conway to that, but what we've done, we've spent well, yeah, and we spent for us quite highly, yeah, because it's you know, I don't know what the total costs are, but we have spent well since the turn of the year. We've bought well since the turn of the year, haven't we, Mark?
Yeah, and it surprised me. I did not expect to see that level of investment in forward players, and I'm just really, really excited. I think it's very early days. Only 2 games into the season. You just don't know what's going to happen. I want us to see us play with our heads a bit more. But the problem is, you're going to get all these opinions on the fans forum, but you know, talking about the previous managers set the base for people just won't move on. They want to compare, and there are a significant number of people who didn't like the way that Nigel Pearson was dismissed, and they'll still like to compare the two and say that he was asked to strip out all the deadwood, he had to sell players, and that created, particularly good financial circumstances for Liam Manning. I just wish we move on.
No, I think it's moving on.
Nigel Pearson's gone. Liam Manning's in. We got to be thankful that we've got an owner, a de facto owner who's prepared to invest in the side. The recruitment's been really good, but with the inevitable bumps in the road, we won't really see a picture until say the first 10 games.
The thing is, what I was trying to draw the parallel was that when Sean O'Driscoll came in, right? Because people had been clamouring for Sean O'Driscoll to come in before he actually became manager, because he was seen as a forward-thinking coach, and he came in and he was a bit of a disaster. And when you look at Pearson's record overall, we didn't have a playing style. We were meh for the whole time he was in charge. Yeah, all right.
The funny thing is with Sean O'Driscoll,
cleared the decks. Sean O'Driscoll cleared the decks.
Yeah.
And so 1 or 2 key players, Aidan Flint being a prime example. Correct me if I'm wrong. 1 or 2 key players that form the basis of the side that Steve Cottrell took up in 24-15. Let's leave it there because we want to move on.
But Liam Manning's closer to Sean O'Driscoll than Steve Cottrell or not Nigel Pearson in terms of a textbook.
In terms of technical ability, and as Ian was with me and the guys from Three Peeps and One Stream, we were up at the HPC with Liam a couple of weeks ago, and he talks. He doesn't have the bullshit aspect to the way he can.
But he might not have the charisma.
Lee Johnson always seemed to have. Lee Johnson was always like cheeky chappy.
Yeah. What they want somebody who's got the charisma but can't deliver the results.
I mean,
or somebody he's bookish. He's not natural in front of the camera, but he's devoted almost his entire professional career, because he didn't make it as a player at Ipswich, to coaching, and he's earned his spot here. I mean, some managers didn't. Lee Johnson, especially, I don't think he earned his position.
But that's another story. I think
eventually his legacy will be based on results like anybody else's, but he hasn't made a bad start.
If Manning gets us to the playoffs this season, which I think is an expectation now rather than hope. If Manning gets us there, he is going to be on the radar of Premier League clubs, bottom half, right? To go there. And, some people, is he the next Eddie Howe? I don't know. Eddie Howe got Bournemouth right to the very top, didn't he? But there we go. Okay, Tom, moving on. Coventry at home next week. Second time at Ashton Gate. None of the injured players are going to be back. But what side do you start against Coventry next week, Tom?
Realistically, I think we see one change. I think Bird goes deeper and Twine comes in the 10 for Williams.
Yeah.
Would I like to see Earthy from the start? Yes. Do I think it's going to happen? No. I think he'll start Armstrong again. I think Armstrong sets the tone of the game from the start, almost leading the line. I think he leads the line better than Fally. So I think it will be a similar team. I mean, Coventry are a good team for me. Coventry should be playoffs, if not pushing this year. That I really like Radoni for them. I would have loved to have Radoni. with us. I mean, they spent a big amount on him. I think it was nearly 5 million they spent on him in the end. But Hadji Wright's a great player, and I think it will be tough for Manning because I think Manning has a lot of respect for Robbins. You listen to the Carabao Cup game, and he's going, it was almost Mark Robbins that changed the game there. So you've got two very tactical managers sort of pitting their wits against each other, whereas yesterday at times it became quite a physical battle. Less so than I thought it would be, admittedly. Neil Harris did play, but I think we could see a very tactical periods of control on Saturday where we look to build, and I wouldn't be surprised to see us recycling the ball quite a lot, shuffling Coventry around like we did for the fourth goal, because for the fourth goal we showed great patience and moving it around the pitch, waiting, opening them up, and then we hit it. And I think we could see something similar Saturday. So my one change would be Twine in for Williams, Bird goes back to 8, and I think Twine's an automatic starter.
Okay, so Twine, so you're keeping Mehmeti and Sykes in your starting lineup next week then? It's only that one
Not through one. I just think realistically that will happen. If it was my way, I still would like to go 3-4-1-2. But I think we will just bring in Twine.
Do you mean 4-2-3-1?
No, I'd like to just go 3-4-1-2. Actually, I think.
Sorry, I thought you meant. Sorry, that we were playing. Apologies. Sorry, Tom.
Yeah, sorry. What's that 4-3-1-2 formation? Well, obviously the back four, we know what that is. So your midfield three then, Tom, is.
So you've got a 4-2-3-1 because that's what all the managers do these days. So you've got Knight and you've got Bird who can be a sort of pivot. So one goes like that, working. You've got almost Twine in a free role. You've got Mehmeti to left of him, Sykes sort of on the right, and then you've got Sinclair leading the line.
Okay, yeah, got that. Okay, no, I get that. Ian, for you, I totally agree with what Tom says. I think Williams is the one that drops out for Twine, but equally, do you leave him in and drop one of Sykes and Mehmeti to bring Twine in?
Well, firstly, I dropped Sykes and Mehmeti because they're ineffective and they're not adding value.
I don't disagree with that.
They're apart from the goal yesterday, Mehmeti had a great chance when he cut in from the right, got inside on his right foot. All he has to do is pass it into one corner and he blooters it up the back of the Atio and into the Millwall fans.
You've used that twice here. Is this your word of the day? Blooters.
Blooter. It was. Well, I'll tell you something offline because there's a bit of language in it, but it was what a Scottish commentator said once. But
all right.
I would play a 4-3-2-1 with 3 in midfield. Knight Williams is a 6. Bird and Knight is 2 8s. Same back 4 in goalkeeper. I don't think they'll play that poorly again. I play Twine as Earthy as 2 10s and start Malulu. Or you could play 4-3-1-2 and start Malulu and Armstrong. So your back 7, I'll call it, is the same. You've got Twine in the 10 and you start Armstrong and Malulu. I think the first one is more likely than the second. And in the first one, he'll probably start Armstrong again. But with Armstrong, I think he's one of these guys who'll do that at the start to a team. But I think he could be a very effective 25-minute sub at the end of a game when you've got a tired defenders and all of a sudden he's warming up and you think, oh Christ, here we go.
Embarrassment of riches. Mark,
that's what I do. Whether Liam will do that, I'm not sure. But that was probably my solution to not losing control of the midfield. That's what we need.
Yeah. Mark, your team?
Pring, Dickey, Tanner,
Viner.
Bird and Jason Knight is the 2. I bring in George Earthy for Sykes, keep Mehmeti, Twine is in the middle, and Sinclair Armstrong up front. So I bring in Twine and Earthy for Joe Williams and Mark Sykes.
Yeah, no, that sounds. I mean, it is.
I think it'd be much more tactical. I mean, they got They got the likes of Sakamoto,
No, I mean, look,
Radoni,
it's going to be
Haji Wright, and Sims.
yeah.
But it'll be a both teams want to play football. They play a 4-2-3-1 with Sims.
It'll be a
Is
cracking.
the one. But I mean, they had to score a very late goal,
96th minute,
and
yeah.
it was a bad back pass from Oxford. Big crowd. It's at the CBS Arena, 28,000. Fantastic, lovely,
And
lovely
they're trying
stadium.
to look like Man City this year, Coventry, aren't they? Because they've dispensed the sky blue shorts and they're going with sky blue and.
But I think they're just a little bit ahead of us in terms of where they want to be in terms of passing and movement, and that's what we want to do.
It's going to be a great game next Saturday lunchtime.
Yeah, it should be
12:30 kickoff, and I think look, all the excitement and joy we've had. You've got to bear in mind that we had a 2-0 lead on Saturday and we threw it away and we came back. On another day, we've got the resilience to come back. On another day, we might not say be so lucky, but we might not be allowed to do that because Millwall were very un-Millwall-esque in terms of their character because it was a fantastic open game. Tom, players going out the door, and if you look at the injured ones, I mean, you, Atkinson, and McCrory would all 6 months ago have been, well, we didn't know you 6 months ago, but they're all players that would expect to get in. So they're bench players. When they come back, if you look at the bench that was yesterday, when our injured players get back, and there's no youngsters anywhere near this now at the moment. So again, if we're going to, part of the project is a pathway for youngsters. But if you look at a bench of Badgett, Cornick, Earthy, TGH, Maulu, Naismith, Roberts, Twine, and Wells. Somebody said on here actually that Roberts might start challenging Pring for that left back spot, but that's a separate discussion. McCrory, Atkinson, and you. Sorry, Sam. Well, I will include Sam. I think Stokes going to go out. So McCrory, Bell, Atkinson, and you. The four players at risk on that bench, potentially, are potential exits on loan or whatever. Do you see? And I'm going to pick four that I think would be at risk just to allow these better players back in. I'm going to say Wells, Cornick. In fact, I'm struggling now on that bench. Wells, Cornick. I'm going to say this. TGH. There's three players there that, they're not going to be in the match day 20 if McCrory, Atkinson, and you are fit, are they? So do you think any of those will go out or anybody will go out?
I think 2 or 3 will go out. I know we're sending 21 players out. I know Brandon back joined Western yesterday. I think we're sorting out loans for youth players. I think Stokes will go to potential League One club. I would be surprised if he's still here come the end of the window. I think his pathway's been blocked a little bit by bringing in Twine and Earthy. I can't see Wells going out. I think Cornick will go. I think we'll try and sort something permanent for Cornick, but how realistic that is, I'm not too sure. But it's tough because, TGH for me, if you don't have TGH on the bench, who do you have sort of your centre mid options bring on that can hold? Naismith maybe, but is Naismith, mobile enough? I think I would like Naismith to try that position, but my fear with Naismith in that deeper midfield is that he's not got the 5-yard short burst of acceleration to get around. So I think TGH at least enables you to bring on someone that's naturally a centre mid, although Naismith has played every position under the sun in his career. But definitely I could see Cornick going on that bench. Apart from that, I think it's really tough. I don't see many people in danger because apart from TGH, who I think at the best times, I mean, for me, Sykes, if you's fit, does Sykes get on the bench? And if so, for who?
Yeah.
And it's tough. So there's definitely decisions to be made, but you want decisions to make. Last year, we didn't even fill our bench most of the time. And we'd have, I remember times at Sheffield Wednesday, we had Lewis Thomas on the bench, and you're there like, right, okay. And Millwall yesterday had 2 goalkeepers on their bench. So, yeah. So,
I didn't realise that was fact. So it's difficult, Tom, isn't it? I mean, Ian, some players are going to be. unhappy unless they move, or do they? Yeah, because it's a match day 20. So I think if you're on the bench, you've got a chance of coming on. Yeah, but once these injured players come back, and who knows, we might lose another injured player, but you know, there's got to be some experience left outside of the match day 20, isn't there?
Well, there's 12 days to go in the window, and it seemed to have dragged on a bit. And am I a fan of saying, well, you've got to get all your business done by the start of the season? Probably not. Of the ones mentioned, Naki Wells will only go out if we get a really good offer. Harry Cornick, there is interest, but no offers at the moment. TGH, no way he's going out, because you've got to allow for the fact that players are going to get injured. We've got players injured already. We've got Sam Bell out for 3, possibly 4 months with a hamstring. McCrory, 4 or 5 weeks. You, 3 or 4 weeks. And that's already. We've also got Ray Nelson, who's been in hospital and had an operation on his hamstring. And I thought he was looking really, really promising. But we've still got Elijah Morrison, who's staying in, who can play left wing.
Yeah.
So we know Adam Murphy is struggling with another injury. And I'm concerned, can he get fit enough to go out? Because I think he's another one who'd benefit from a loan. I think Stokes will go out on loan. But then it depends on, will you get an offer out of left field? And this is something I'm making up, but would you get an offer out of left field for Zach Viner? That you looked at and thought, oh, that's a lot of money. Yeah, we'll take that, because we can then bring in X, Y, and Z for that money. So there's a lot can happen. There's only, I say only 12 days. 12 days is a real long time when you see the amount of business being done and the amount of money being spent. But so far, I think Liam Manning said if the season finished up, if the window closed tomorrow night,
he's happy.
He's happy. Yeah. But if you get offers especially for fringe players, they'll be considered. But we're not in a position where we have to sell somebody. I think selling Tommy has been a great solution for everybody. It's win-win-win all round. He's got the move. If that's the move he wanted, fine. There was obviously a breakdown in the relationship between him and the club at some level. I know it wasn't a personal thing with Liam Manning, but I think we've replaced him with 3 players who I think overall will be of far more value to us. I mean, Fally could have possibly had a hat trick yesterday, and Bird could have scored late on. So, but I think with that long left in the window, you can't say, no, we won't. But I think apart from outgoings, I can't see too much else happening, barring, big lumpy bids.
Okay, no, and it's interesting you say about Viner, because or Pring. I mean, our sale of assets to some extent would be those 2 defenders, I think, and for me, that's why the McNally coming from Burnley. I'm thinking, well, why do we need McNally when we've got Atkinson on the bench?
Dave, can I answer that one?
Go on.
The reason that we might need him is that we've got 2 centre halves down there who've hardly played in the last 1.5 seasons.
All right, Naismith and Atkinson.
If you said to Liam Manning, right, I can guarantee you that you'll get 23 games out of those 2 players each, and they won't be injured at the same time, I think he'd bite your arm off up to the neck, because can they be relied upon? I think both good players, but they have had injury worries. Now Rob's back in training. He'll be playing some under 21 games, and that's the same as going on with Eamon. And you could call that almost part of the rehab before you play for the first team.
Yeah.
And we were talking to Paul Cheesley, who said how long it takes you to get back into match fitness when you've been out injured, and he was talking about months, not weeks.
Yeah, well, we've seen players come back 2 too soon after injury over the recent years. But look, we're done today. Thanks for everybody that's tuned in, for want of a better word, on YouTube while this has been going out live, and not far short of 400, which I think is a record. You're not all listening at once, but that's the number of people that have watched for part of it. Be interesting to see if Lee Johnson lands the Preston North End manager's job. He was watching Preston and Swansea yesterday over in South Wales. That's one to watch. Good to see Antoine Semenyo score a goal for Bournemouth. He's having a tremendous career down there. Hopefully some big club will come in for him, and we will get a sell on, which we haven't got with anybody that moved about 4 or 5 years ago. We'll be doing our Coventry review probably at 5 o'clock on Saturday, but it may be live on Monday. But Tom, Ian, Mark, thanks for your contribution as always today. Thanks for everybody that's put comments on the live text feed, and have a great week, everybody. And what a great result. City 4, Millwall 3. I'd settle for the season ending now with us nestled in fifth position.